What's up YouTube? Brian here, back again with another video, and we're back with high-end rod reviews, and we're talking Megabass. And it's been a minute since we've talked Megabass, so we're going to dive right into the review of this Megabass P5 Destroyer MADBULL. But first off, if you're not following me down on Instagram at Punch Fishing, you definitely should be. I'm almost at 3,000 followers, and when I get to 3,000, we're going to do a bougie giveaway, so please check that out. All right. I've had this rod for 7 months. I looked it up when I got this rod, and I picked this up from our friends at Omnia Fishing. I'll leave a link in the description. These are really hard to find right now. In the spring, they were a little more easier to find, but right now it is tough out there trying to find a MADBULL. I think a lot of the P5 models in general, a lot of the more popular models just haven't really gotten too many restocks as the season's gone on. But anyway, let's talk about this rod specifically. Now, I've had this rod for 7 months and it has been used in my boat all summer. So this is not a willy-nilly just thoughts and impressions video. I have put a ton of sea time into this rod and I have a lot of thoughts and opinions. So first off, we got to talk about the rod itself. It is 4.1 ounces. It's extremely light. It is a 7-foot rod, and I think it is a Megabass 5 power. So 5 power is kind of in that medium heavy-ish range. Although I wouldn't really even worry about the power on this rod because it's not super important. What is really important about this rod is what it is designed for. Now, it is designed for a moving bait presentations. I've thrown a lot of stuff on this rod, and I think its sweet spot is absolute. Let's just dive right into the techniques that are great on this rod, right? Bigger square bills. Medium to shallow running cranks are definitely in the pocket for this rod. I actually cut this bait off. This is the last bait I was using on this rod, and this is the Depths. The Depths Evoke 2.0. I've done the Evoke 1.8s on this thing as well. But really kind of like any crankbait that runs 6 feet and shallower can definitely throw on this, including wake baits. It's actually not a terrible wake bait rod if you're throwing wake baits. But also the trick of this rod is it can throw treble hook baits, but it can also throw single hook moving baits. Not single hook moving baits that have a weed guard like a swim jig. I definitely wouldn't throw a swim jig on this, but I'm talking like spinner baits is pretty good on this rod. 3/8 to half ounce spinner baits. This is a pretty fun buzzbait rod. I actually threw this buzzbaits a lot on this rod. Again, 3/8 to half ounce buzzbaits. It's a pretty decent buzzbait rod. I will say because it's a 7-footer, you're not going to get really long bomb casts with a buzzbait or spinnerbait with this rod. If I got to make really long casts, I'm still busting out my javelin, like a longer rod, like a 7.4 to 7.6 for making those really long casts. But this can absolutely fish all those things. It can definitely throw chatterbaits as well. It's not a terrible chatterbait rod. I will say it's not like super... let's just dive right into the action on this thing. Since we're talking about the baits we can throw on it. I'm going to show you guys the bend on this thing. This is a graphite rod. There's no glass in this rod. But the bend on this thing is pretty deep. It's got a fairly soft tip, but that bend goes right down through the middle. And it goes way down into the bottom section of this rod. So this is definitely what you could call a moderate action rod. It's definitely can throw those treble hook, shallower running baits. To be perfectly honest, I really love throwing any 1.5, 2.0, or 2.5 square bill on this. I found this to be a really fun square bill rod. And in fact, I'm going to jump over to a clip right now that I have with a Lucky Craft 1.5 that I was throwing. So we'll just jump over to a fish catch and I'll explain the action a little more with the video here. So we're going to jump over to the laptop and we're going to play this clip for y'all. So as you can see, this is a Lucky Craft 1.5 that I was throwing on this rod. As you can see, look at this fish is not even that big. We'll play the clip out. I think it's maybe like a 1.5 to 2 pounder or something like that. But if you can see the deep parabolic, well, moderate action, deep moderate action of this rod when it's loaded up with a fish is really nice. I mean, you can play out fish on treble hooks around grass with this rod and not be too worried about it. This rod is definitely has more power than the swing fire. So I have the swing fire. It's not even close. The swing fire is part glass, where this is all graphite. But here, let's finish out this clip. No problem fighting a fish. The fish was definitely around some grass. It's maybe fishing in like 6 feet of water, grass line, typical Wisconsin, Minnesota fishing. Going up on the Lucky Craft. Had no problem getting these fish in.
All right. Lucky Craft 1.5 with the hollow on the Mad Bull.
So I just wanted to show you that clip to kind of like explain what I'm talking about when I say it has that deep action. So I really did like throwing this rod on square bill. So to me personally, I had a lot of fun throwing shallow running cranks on this. You can throw bigger cranks. I'd say 1.5 is definitely the smallest. So you're not throwing small micro cranks. Balsa cranks on this rod are going to be a little hard to toss this because this rod has a little more power and it's not as like whippy as like a glass cranking rod or a glass composite cranking rod. You might not get as long a cast with like lighter cranks. Like to me, a lighter crank is like a balsa crank. But for plastic cranks that have like weighted systems or weighting systems that are really castable, this rod's great at. Also, fun buzzbait rod, fun spinnerbait rod, pretty good chatterbait rod. It's just a good versatile stick. But the other thing is, this rod is also not a terrible walking bait rod for topwaters. But here's the problem. You kind of want to throw monofilament fluorocarbon, one of those kinds of lines for the cranking presentations. I ran this thing with 15-pound fluorocarbon all the time. I have 15-pound Tatsu on here right now with a Steez A 7-speed. But the problem is it's not a great topwater line. So if you're going to throw topwaters on this, you almost need to like have a second reel loaded up with braid or mono. And you need to swap the reels out. Or you just go braid to leader, I guess. But the problem is you have a line situation problem where this thing can actually do really well with topwater walking baits like Vixens, Kick Knockers, Spooks. The Megabass Diamante is really fun on this as well. So those walking side to side, bigger topwater baits, even like a smaller plopper bait is fine with this kind of thing. But any kind of one of those like topwater baits is great with this rod. But you got to decide what line are you throwing that day. Are you going to throw braid, mono, or do you want the fluorocarbon? So my point is, there's cases where I know a lot of people have two of these Mad Bulls where they have one just dedicated for a topwater setup and another one dedicated for moving bait setup. Do with what you want, or just keep two different reels that you can swap back and forth on, or get funky and just throw a braid to a leader. I don't know. But anyway, pretty versatile stick. Now, I will say it's one of the most beautiful rods in the P5 line. Along with the Super Destroyer, you're getting that carbon fiber handle that says Chris Zaldane signature on it, even though he doesn't, he's not a big Megabass pro staff guy anymore. It's a beautiful rod. It's exquisitely balanced. So I have the Steez 8 on here, and I'm just going to show you guys for the finger test. It actually bounces a little below the lock nut. So it's like perfectly balanced. And the Steez 8 isn't like a super lightweight reel, but even with lightweight reels, this thing bounces really, really nice. So the balance is fantastic. The fit and finish, I mean, this is one of the most beautiful looking rods. The two Megabass casting rods in the P5 series that have this carbon fiber grip just look amazing. This looks like a $500, which it is, $500 Ferrari of a rod. The guides are fairly small. These things have micro guides on the P5s, as most people know. Downsides. The carbon fiber grip isn't great when it's wet. I will say if you're in a very rainy day and you're not, when this does get wet, it's not the greatest thing to grip. It does slip a little bit. Sweaty hands create kind of a suction on this thing and it's fine. But when it's like wet, like you're in the rain or drizzle or, where it's actually hard, rain's coming down, this grip kind of sucks. It does slip. It's not the greatest, but the aesthetics are worth the maybe the loss of gripitude on this particular rod. But I don't know. It's a tough thing. I've had this rod for 7 months, and you think I have more things to say about it. Is it worth $500 for a kind of semi-versatile moving bait rod? It's up to you. It's your decision. I think you can find a lot cheaper options to throw cranks, square bills, spinnerbaits, chatterbaits, and buzzbaits. But this is really fun. If you're into this bougie thing and you really are looking for a rod in the P5 casting lineup that can kind of tick a lot of boxes, this is definitely a very versatile rod. If you're a kayak angler and you kind of want one of those rods that isn't super long, it can do a lot of different techniques, I think this is a really good option. If you're limited on how much tackle or rods and reels you can bring to places, this rod can do a lot of stuff. You can slap a chatterbait on it, slap a spinnerbait on it, cut it off, throw a square bill, cut it off, throw a 6-foot diving crankbait, cut it off, throw on a wake bait. There's a lot of things you can do with this rod, and it's a pretty like jack of all trades kind of a stick. Did I love throwing spinnerbait? Would this be my number one spinnerbait rod? Probably not, just because of the shorter 7-foot length. You can't get real long bomb casts. Would it be my go-to for buzz baits? Probably not. Again, not making the longest casts. Buzz baits aren't the most castable bait to begin with. And then when you're kind of holding to a 7-foot rod, you're not, I mean, if you're beating the bank, you're making really targeted casts at structure shallow. Yeah, this thing's great. But if you're trying to cover a big group of grass with a buzz bait, not the best, because you're not going to get the, you know, big long whippy bomb casts. Although I did like this for square bills quite a bit. I found this rod to be really, really fun to fish square bills around grass. It absolutely has the power to get fish out of cover if necessary. So yeah, overall, I really do like this rod. Am I going to keep it in the lineup? Yeah, I found a lot of uses for this thing. Is it my favorite chatterbait rod? I kind of actually like throwing it on the X Pride a little better. I think the X Pride makes a lot longer casts, but this thing's really fun. It's just a really fun rod to use. It's a fun rod to own because it's so gorgeous and it's balanced so nice and it's so light. I think it looks really sick with the Steez A reel on here. A Zillion, the new Zillion would also look fantastic on this. A Metanium, really any like high-end or nice bougie reel is the way you should pair up with the bougie P5 MADBULL and or Super Destroyer with these like nice grips. Ergonomically, really nice rod. I love the P5 grips for how your hand sits on the rod. Sensitivity doesn't really matter on this rod because this is a moving bait rod. You're not fishing the bottom with this thing, so I don't even really want to touch on sensitivity because it does not. Who cares, really? I mean, for $500, you're paying for the fit and finish and the versatility of this kind of deep, bendy, strong action that goes down through the blank on this rod. So if you're all out there shopping for the MADBULL, I can definitely vouch for this rod. It is really nice. It's fantastic. I keep hitting it on the wall. I will say the Megabass warranty is not super great. If you're not aware, you have to be the original owner and have a receipt from a Megabass authorized dealer to do a warranty claim. And you only get a certain amount of period where you can get a no questions asked replacement. And then once you're out of that warranty period, you're SOL. Also, if you buy one of these on the aftermarket, you can the warranty is not transferable. You have to be the person that bought it to access the warranty. So just buyer beware if you are picking these up on the aftermarket. Try and get a discount on these things because the warranty is basically kaput. It doesn't apply to you if you buy the rod used. So I just want to throw that out there for people who are shopping for this thing, for these rods. I personally like buying Megabass rods directly through an authorized dealer such as Omnia, Tackle Trap. There's a lot of really great shops out there that sell Megabass rods where you're going to get a full-on, no questions asked warranty experience. Anyway, I hope this helps. I hope you found this information useful. If you are a MADBULL owner and you have techniques that you like using the MADBULL for that I haven't talked about in my video, please leave a comment down in the comment section and let people know, oh, I use the MADBULL for this thing and it's great. Because I think there's a lot of uses for the MADBULL that maybe I didn't fully unlock because of the techniques that I'm, kind of familiar with. I'm sure there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with the MADBULL that I didn't even scratch the surface of. So anyway, I hope this helps. I hope this review was useful. And if you've made it to the end of this video and you're still watching, please hit like and subscribe because you're definitely a gear snob just like myself and the rest of the people who watch this channel. So until next time, thank you for watching. We'll see you soon.